fellow seekers of mystery and justice. I'm Kitty, your guide into the enigmatic realm of New England. Welcome to Mine, Missing, Murdered, Unidentified in New England, where we delve into the chilling tales that have haunted the corners of Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Prepare to embark on a journey through the shadows of the last decade, from the start of 2010 to the close of 2020. Our stories, sourced from the depths of history, are as diverse as the New England landscapes they unfold in. Some episodes will lead us on an extensive exploration, while others may be swift glimpses. For these cases often shroud themselves in secrecy, leaving us with only morsels of information to feast upon. Within these episodes, every word, every theory, and yes, even every mistake and misstep is a product of my own relentless pursuit of the truth. I promise to keep you informed with updates and correct any mistakes along the way. While I won't give trigger warnings for the wounds we uncover, after all, they are an essential part to the narrative. I'll be mindful with the more sensitive topics. We'll issue trigger warnings when discussing subjects of suicide, animal loss, domestic violence, and others, to ensure a respectful and considerate journey through the mysteries that await. So, dear listener, fasten your seatbelt and let's explore the shadows of New England together. September 2nd, 2011. The unidentified skeletal remains of a white male between the ages of 18 to 99 were discovered in Rochester, Vermont, a part of Windsor County. The remains were dressed in a white dress shirt, green sweater, brown leather belt, and black pants. The body was discovered in a wooden casket with metal handles in a blue vault. The body was likely disinterred from Woodlawn Cemetery in Rochester, Vermont, due to intense flooding from Hurricane Irene. 24 bodies are still unaccounted for from that cemetery. If you have any information, please call 802-241-5000. September 8th, 2011. Trigger warning, sexual abuse of a child. John Labbe was a brave, 54-year-old man who took on the church. Before that, John was born on November 2nd, 1956, in West Stewartstown, New Hampshire. John attended Colebrook Academy as a child, was a Colebrook High Class of 75 graduate who went on to Plymouth State University. John was a good guy, shirt off your back if you needed it kind of person. His bluntness could catch people off guard. One friend recalls how John would often call, sometimes as early as 5:30 in the morning, to see if he and his wife wanted to join him and Becky for breakfast. Much to the friend's chagrin at such an early call, the friend described John as a great friend, a kind word for anyone. Others said that John, he had integrity. He was courageous, very simple, soft-spoken, a sweet guy, a brave man. John was married to a lovely woman named Becky Sue Wolverton Labbe, had a bonus daughter named Jade, 5 sisters, 1 brother, and 2 dogs named Madison and Morgan. John loved the outdoors, making improvements to his home, landscaping, general handyman activities, was incredibly self-sufficient, and a major animal lover. John worked construction, raised chickens, and harvested firewood. John and Becky were able to enjoy this lifestyle in their home out in the woods. In May 2010, John filed a civil lawsuit against the Archdiocese of Manchester, New Hampshire, and the Missionary Oblates of Mary Immaculate. John was an altar boy at St. Brendan's Catholic Church. John had been subjected to molestation for 4 years at the hands of the now, thankfully dead priest Reverend George St. Jean, based out of Colebrook, New Hampshire, and shuffled elsewhere. John was only 9 when the abuse began in the 1960s. John was reassured by the St. Jean that he was doing God's work when abusing John. St. Jean abused John nearly 100 times, and it was mainly in the back seat of the vehicle his dad was driving John and the Reverend to Mass in. The abuse occurred elsewhere and turned from fondling to sodomy. John was one of 3 court cases, and one of the 20 to 70 boys that George St. Jean sexually abused. The grooming of the young boys began when St. Jean would lure the boys in with talks of stamp collecting and coin collecting. St. Jean, the pedophile priest, thankfully died in 1982. John kept his tragic secret until after his mother passed away so as to not upset her over the revelations. John's body was discovered by a friend, who ran inside to tell Becky what they found and told her to call paramedics. Becky placed a 911 call at 2:30 p.m. and John was pronounced dead at 2:50 p.m. Because the case is still ongoing, the exact date of death, as well as whether or not there was forced entry and what kind of gun was used, have been kept secret. Becky was ruled out as a suspect. She had been out and arrived home shortly before her friend, who had also been ruled out as a suspect, came to the house. No weapon was located at the scene. The murderer came prepared to kill John. The killer shot John and left the scene. Nothing was taken from the household. Police are looking for information from anyone who encountered John between Tuesday, September 6th, 2011, and Thursday, September 8th, 2011, when he was found. Neighbors didn't report anything or anyone out of the ordinary that day. There is no direct evidence leading law enforcement to think that John's death was tied to his impending lawsuit against the church. In lieu of flowers, the family had all donations go towards the New Hampshire Humane Society. John is buried in the family plot next to the church where his abuse occurred many, many years ago. Please call 1-603-223-3860 with any information on this case. September 9th, 2011. It was a cloudy day when 5 friends gathered in the state of Maine for a wedding, went frolicking. They were taking pictures of waves, exploring caves, and having a generally delightful time. Tragedy struck in the form of a large wave, striking and capturing 33-year-old Thomas Allen Clark. Hurricane Katia had gone to sea, and the waves were deceiving from where the friends were trekking, and caught them off guard. The 4 remaining friends risked life and limb to get Thomas back from the sea. They were unsuccessful in their attempts. Crews from the Maine Marine Patrol, Monhegan Island Volunteer Fire Department, and Good Samaritans aboard a kayak, dory, lobster vessel, the recreational vessel Balmy Days, and the ferry Elizabeth Ann assisted with the search. These vessels were later joined by a vessel from the Maine Marine Patrol, a 47-foot motor lifeboat from Coast Guard Station Boothbay Harbor, an MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter from the Coast Guard Air Station Cape Cod, and the 87-foot cutter Hammerhead, which had been operating in the Portsmouth area according to the United States Coast Guard. There was an initial 34-hour search followed by another 15-hour search. These searches spanned 170 and 200 square miles. The wedding went on as planned. Thomas's camera bag and shoes were recovered, however, Thomas remains missing. Thomas was son of Thomas and Mara Clark and had several siblings. Thomas was a skilled builder who often traveled between Ireland and the U.S. Time of his disappearance, Thomas was 5 foot 9 inches, white male with brown eyes and brown hair. On his upper left chest, Thomas has a fish tattoo. On his torso, he has an angel tattoo. According to a press release issued Saturday by the Coast Guard, people caught in a rip current, should remain calm and swim parallel to the shore. If you can't reach shore, float or tread water until you are out of the current, it stated. We also recommend that whenever possible, wear a life jacket while on the water and never swim alone. If you have any information on the disappearance of Thomas Clark, if you find any remains in the harbor by where he disappeared, please call 1-207-459-1300. September 22nd, 2011. Trigger warning, domestic abuse. Mark Lenny Candelario is a 23-year-old survivor. Originally from the Dominican Republic, where she attended school, at some point in life, Mark Lenny lived in the Bronx, New York, prior to moving to New Haven, Vermont. Looking to start anew after living through domestic abuse, Mark Lenny and her 2 children were living in the Sugar House Motel as she built her new life. And when Mark Lenny disappeared, she was bringing her oldest son back to his father in the Bronx. After making it to the airport, to the Bronx, and dropping off her son, Mark Lenny was to go to the Dominican Embassy to get an issue with her passport corrected. The last person to see Mark Lenny was the father of her child. On September 22, 2011, Mark Lenny's backpack full of belongings was found on a bus platform in Massachusetts. When last heard from, Mark Lenny said that she was being held against her will in New York. There was an unfounded and unconfirmed rumor going around that Mark Lenny renounced her U.S. citizenship and returned to the Dominican Republic. Another unconfirmed and unfounded rumor was that Mark Lenny and her 2 children were deported. Mark Lenny suffers from mental illness and needs medication to control her condition. Mark Lenny is a Hispanic female with brown eyes and brown hair. The circumstances of Mark Lenny's disappearance warrant investigation by authorities. Please call 1-802-244-8781 with any information. If you have any questions, concerns, complaints, please email me at minepodcast@gmail.com. All one word, and mine is spelled with 2 M's, 2 I's, 1 N, 1 E. Please include what your message is about in the subject line. Later, y'all!